I'm Greg.
And I'm Billy.
And we're the Fuji Guys. Listen, we got an exciting first look video on our X10 premium compact camera today. It features top features like a 2/3 inch oversized sensor. It's a 12 megapixel. It's the EXR CMOS sensor technology, so it's super fast, super intelligent. You know, being able to get very low noise capabilities at high ISO plus high-speed shooting, up to 7 frames per second at the very, very highest resolution. You can even go higher to 10 frames per second in medium resolution. The real story behind this camera, I think, is its precision zoom lens. It's only a 4 times zoom, okay? But it is what we would call a manual or a precision type zoom, meaning you're turning the collar to change the focal length. A, it's infinitely variable that way. B, much quicker to get to the focal length of your desire. This is not your typical lens, okay? It's super fast. It's a super bright f2.0 at wide angle and 2.8 on the tele end. So from wide to tele, it is very, very bright, brings a lot of light into the sensor.
And there's 11 glass elements that make up this lens, you know, of which, you know, 3 of them are spherical lenses. Then we have a couple of special extra dispersion ED lenses, and all of them are coated with EBC electron beam coating, a super electron beam coating to reduce flare.
To Fuji, So
you can see the type of quality that's built onto the lens itself. And in addition to that, when Greg mentioned that it's a precision zoom, we're looking at, you know, metal cams basically similar to, you know, our Fujinon broadcast lenses that use sort of a metal cam with grease, and it gives you an ultra smooth zooming feel. It's unbelievable. You have to sort of try it yourself to really believe it.
It's one of those see it or try it to believe it yourself. Yeah, and of course this camera is optically stabilized as well, and up to 4 stops, I might mention. The other really cool thing while we're talking about optics is the optical viewfinder on this camera. So often enough, you'll either see cameras that don't have this optical viewfinder anymore, or they'll have an electronic viewfinder when you look through there. There's not many people, for many reasons, that put a state-of-the-art optical viewfinder in this camera, and we have done so. Like the lens, this is an all-glass optical viewfinder. You get 85% coverage view, as well as 20-degree angle viewing. I can just say through experience and knowing what the competition has in this style that this is the best optical viewfinder in its class, bar none. So again, this is another thing, if you have to compare it to something else, you have to see it to believe it. Let's talk about the design and build. This camera is actually the baby brother now, or the second X-series camera of our now world-famous X100. And if you look at the 2 cameras side by side, you can see a lot of design similarities. More importantly, there's a lot of quality similarities. So Billy, you know, tell us a little bit about the construction that makes this a little bit cut above.
Greg, just like the X100, you know, the top and bottom plates are cast from magnesium alloy, just like the X100. Each dial and knob on this camera, again, machine precision, just like the X100 as well. Even the internal body structure of the camera, you're not seeing plastic. There's metal wrapping that's very similar to the X100 again. So in terms of build quality, it's so impressive. And it comes even from the same line made in Japan as well, where we produce this camera.
100% made in Japan, and yeah, it uses the good old manual cable release as well, just like the X100. So if you like the look, feel, design of an X100, if you've seen that, if you've been lucky enough to buy one even, you'll love the X10 for similar reasons. So going on from there, you know, there's other features that make this a cut above style camera. Of course, there's a 1-button raw shooting mode, okay? So every person out there that's probably interested in a camera knows what that's all about. You have full manual control, so you're not stuck on aperture preferred, you're not stuck on program or EXR auto. You can go full manual if you like. And this is not your typical point and shoot camera. This has a 7-blade aperture system. So you're getting real apertures when you're changing the apertures here, not just electronic neutral density adjustments
range from f2 to f11.
Exactly. So you get a nice array of apertures, and because of its larger sensor and those large apertures, you can also get really nice bokeh and out of focus effect. You know, shutter speeds up to 1/4000th of a second, and of course, because of the same design and setup as the X100, you can synchronize your flash shooting with virtually every shutter speed available on the camera. So talk about some incredible results in studio when you're syncing with really, really high shutter speeds.
And even outdoors when you use, you know,
TTL fill-in
flashes.
flash outside is nice to sync with a high shutter speed instead of having to use neutral density filters and things like that. The camera shoots full 1080p video with stereo sound. You can get to 1 centimeter in macro, so as far as, you know, you've got that precision zoom and everything, but getting up close is fantastic feature there. You can do the motion panorama where with one shot you can shoot 360 degrees, now, which is an incredible feature and great results. Of course, in Canada, we feature a 2-year warranty on all of our FinePix cameras, and obviously this camera takes any SD card available. We do recommend the higher class cards because of the HD video. As well as the raw capabilities and shooting. And raw shooting, yeah, and obviously bigger cards because of the raw files. So the SD, SDHC, SDXCs, even the ultra high speed, you know, UHS 1 cards, it will accept and utilize the speed. Great. Billy's going to take us around all the different angles on this camera, and we'll just show you all the bells and buttons. I'm just going to give you one warning, though. This is a pre-production sample, so not everything is 100% final. I know that some of our viewers out there are very, very knowledgeable, and they're probably the first people that would point out, hey, that's a little bit different than what I saw in the brochure. But anyways, this is about 99% anatomically correct, and we'll go through it. This is so that we can have this video for the day that it's press released. Thanks, Greg. Take her away, Billy. So again, you got the similar lens cap, again, metal construction, just like the X100. If you take a look at the front of the camera, of course, we have the lens. It's a Fuji lens, an f2 to 2.8 lens. As Greg mentioned, it's a 4x zoom, starting off 28 millimeters wide, goes to 112. What's really cool on this feature is that the actual on and off switch is built onto the lens. So as you turn it, once you get it off that dial, it is switched on. I love that. Once the camera hits the 28 millimeter point on the zoom itself, you're ready to take pictures. So that's what's incredible about it, and it's really about getting fast speed, getting ready, up and ready to take pictures right away, and that's a great functionality. Not having to fiddle with any on and switch on top. It's just do this, do that, and you're ready to go. Lovely, lovely, lovely feature, as Greg mentioned. It is optically image stabilized as well. It's one of the few cameras that have optical image stabilization within the Fuji brand of digital cameras. If you look at the right-hand side of the camera, we have the self-timer / AF assist lamp. Of course, with the self-timer, it blinks after 5 seconds, so 4, 3, 2, 1, it shoots. We have the stereo microphones left and right. We have the focus mode selectors, just like the X100, but of course, this is on the front now. You have, of course, the single focus, the continuous autofocus, as well as the manual focusing on the camera. If we take a look at one of the sides, we have the strap eyelid where you put the strap on to attach the strap. You have the battery, the connector covers, which house the USB connection as well as the mini HDMI port on this camera. On the other side, we just basically have the other strap eyelid. If we take a look at the top view of the camera, if I can show you that quickly, as you can see, going from left to right, I guess, for me, we have the exposure compensation dial. Again, it's now recessed into the body, so you don't accidentally change that when you pull it out of the camera bag. It also has a much more stronger feel to it as well, so you're not going to accidentally knock off the exposure compensation button. We also have the function button, which can be customized. It defaults to the ISO controls, just like the X100, but you can customize it to other options within the camera itself. You got the shutter release button. It also has the cable threads on it, so you can attach a manual cable release. And of course, unlike the X100, you know, we have a mode dial now where we have various shooting modes like EXR, which is basically a completely automatic mode that not only deals with various scenes like portrait, landscape, macro, and additional other scenes, it also deals with the different lighting situations. And what's very exclusive with this product is that, you know, using that, you know, 2/3 inch EXR CMOS sensor, we have a customized Bayer filter designed specifically for this X10, first of its kind. The way it's designed is unbelievable, providing sort of an unbelievable low noise, high ISO quality on this camera. In fact, it also has a greater, you know, dynamic range. You know, just like our point and shoot EXR models that we offer, like the F550 and F500, this actually takes it one step ahead. With the utilize of the lens and the sensor combination, you have just unprecedented, sharp images,
just with this type of camera. So again, going off tangent, let's go back to where the mode dials go. That's EXR technology for you, does everything very, very smart. You got the program auto, shutter priority, aperture priority. You got your full manual controls, and I'll show you in the back where you can adjust things like aperture and shutter speeds. You got a couple of custom modes. You got a video mode to do your 1080p video. You got some special scene position modes, as well as an advanced mode, which houses the 360 panoramic feature, which is a great feature to show, especially with a very fast lens and the large sensor. You can get some unbelievable panoramics out of this camera. If we move across the camera, we have the hot shoe, and it also supports TTL via the EF20 and EF42 flashes provided from Fuji. You can use other flashes as well. Of course, you're going to have to shoot them in manual because of no TTL support for that. There's a pop-up flash on the camera right here. I just wanted to show you what the flash would look like. You can see the picture here. We'll show you exactly how the pop-up flash works on the camera. Now, if we look at the bottom of the camera, similar to the X100, we have the tripod socket. Metal tripod socket. We have the speakers to play back, you know, your videos, or the audio from the video, as well as the battery cover, which houses the NP50 battery slot, as well as the memory card that it supports. Okay, if we take a look at the back of the camera, Greg, we have the 2.8-inch, you know, high contrast screen. Again, it's very bright, just like the X100, and very sharp looking. We look at some of the left-hand controls on this camera. Just like the X100, we have the playback button. We have the auto exposure button that allows you to adjust things like the exposure in terms of spot metering, matrix metering, and average metering. You also have the zoom button as it doubles up when you play back your images. You have the AF button, which gives you quick access to the autofocus points, and you can actually change whether it's a manual position or it's a centered position in terms of focusing. It also acts as the zoom out button when you play back images. And then you have a dedicated white balance button, Greg, so that you can customize the white balances from the various presets that's already built to the camera, as well as you know, custom setting, you know, using a gray card or even a Kelvin scale where you can actually select the proper temperature in Kelvin, so which is great. On the top left, we have the pop-up flash, which pops the flash up. We have the optical viewfinder, as we mentioned before. This is an unbelievable optical viewfinder. You know, it uses glass components. You know, you have, you know, 3 aspherical lenses built onto the optical viewfinder. Not just the lens, but the viewfinder uses 2 glass prisms, and you know, the clarity that you get with this is unbelievable. You know, 85% coverage, a 20-degree viewing angle. So when you use this, you know, it's not going to be a tiny little thing that you see on the screen.
I know.
It's an awesome thing to play with.
I'm loving it.
Okay, so moving onwards, we have...
Also, just to mention quickly, there is a diopter adjustment for that optical viewfinder. So, you know, part of the challenge sometimes if you're wearing glasses, getting up close enough to get that full 85 degrees or 85% coverage. So take your glasses off, dial it in with the diopter. It's built right in.
Absolutely, just like the X100. So again, a lot of the design cues we've taken obviously from an award-winning design like the X100. What's different this year, of course, is the command piece that adjusts the aperture control. This now, instead of going left and right, is a complete rotation left and right, which is it's an added bonus. So again, it allows you to quickly adjust aperture in full manual control. We have the AEL and AEF button, which is obviously the auto exposure, autofocus lock. Again, in manual focus, that doubles up as a quick one-touch autofocus feature, again similar to the X100. We have the control pad now, or the command dial, with the outer being rotatable and the inner being a directional pad that moves up, down, left, right. And the outer pad that rotates obviously controls, you can navigate through the menu as well as adjust things like shutter speeds. Again, just like the X100. The directional pad has some quick commands. We have the access to the macro mode, self-timer feature, to the various flash modes, you know, from automatic to slow synchro flash. We have a drive button that gives you access to the different, you know, drive modes like the auto exposure bracketing, the dynamic range bracketing,
continuous shooting,
ISO bracketing, continuous shooting. You know, Greg mentioned that it can shoot, you know, at full resolution, 7 frames per second, and you know, at half the resolution, 10 frames a second, super, super fast.
Which is better than most entry-level DSLRs. I think we should mention that. Like, if you are comparing this performance-wise, it is a very high-end camera, even though it's made in a compact style.
And I mean, we talked about that continuous shooting. What they've changed this year too is once you get past a certain limit, it still continues to shoot forever and records to the card at approximately 1.5 frames per second after a certain point where the buffer is filled. So that's another neat feature that's kind of added to this. We have the display back button that toggles through the various screens on the LCD, similar to the X100, where we can have nothing. We have some information. We have histogram display. There's even an electronic level, just like the X100. So all that same design Q technology is all put into this X10, which is awesome.
Awesome.
And of course, that dedicated RAW button that gives you quick access to switching between JPEGs and RAW, but also on playback. More importantly, it's your one-touch access to actually process the RAW files within the camera itself, and it gives you a lot of parameters to adjust things like the white balance settings, the sharpness, the tone, and whatnot. So you can actually produce JPEGs within the camera itself without having to download it to the computer. So again, that's just a quick run through of the X10 itself.
Well, I'm real excited to get one of these final versions in my hands. One of our most exciting launches in the history of Fuji cameras, the FinePix X10. So anyways, thanks very much, Billy. Until next time, I'm Greg.
And I'm Billy.
And we're the Fuji Guys.
Fuji Guys. And again, don't forget to subscribe to our video as well as also following us on Twitter as we respond to your questions.